Hello and welcome back. So in this final segment of this lesson, we want to talk about how can you identify rocks in the field. So I've got three charts here to show you, and the first chart is a sedimentary chart. So how can you tell, if you got this rock in your hand, how could you tell whether it's a sedimentary rock, an igneous rock, or a metamorphic rock? So let's first talk about that. So a sedimentary rock is going to be relatively soft. Now what I mean by relatively soft is if you hit it with your geological hammer, you can break it apart. If you try to hit an igneous rock or a metamorphic rock with your hammer, most of the time you get sparks and you can't break them. So that's a pretty good indicator that it's a sedimentary rock if it's relatively soft. Okay, another thing is look for layers. So if you got layers in your rock. Now, remember the difference between, you can see layers in a metamorphic rock, but they're going to kind of look like crystalline layers. Whereas these kinds of layers are going to be layers of sand or something like that. So there is a difference in the layering. So look for layers, and if you see layers in the sample, it's a good chance it's a sedimentary rock. Okay, another thing that you could do is you could put acid on it. So if it reacts to acid, it's going to have calcium carbonate in it, and that narrows down what kind of rock it could be. And then the next thing is what's the relative hardness of your sample of rock. And then look for what it's made of. So what are the minerals in that rock? And then that narrows down what kind of sedimentary rock it is. Let's look at this next chart. So this one is how to identify metamorphic rocks. So remember, they're going to be very hard, okay? And another thing is, do they have this foliation thing or do they not? Now all metamorphic rocks, they're going to be crystalline, so they're going to look like crystals that are glued together. Whereas most of the time with the sedimentary rocks, it's going to be pebbles and things that are glued together. Now you can have crystalline sedimentary rocks like limestone that have crystals in them, but most of the time when it's got very, very obvious crystals, it's going to be either an igneous or a metamorphic rock. So we look to see, does it have this foliation thing, the thing that looks like layers but is made of crystals, or does it not? And then we look again at what minerals are in the rock, and then that helps us to identify what it is. So our final chart is going to be igneous. So what are we going to be looking for this time? Well, one thing you could be looking for is a volcano. So if you find the rock and it's next to a volcano or it's next to a intrusion of some kind, chances are it's going to be an igneous rock. It's going to be crystalline, okay, and then if you hit it with the hammer, it's probably going to give off sparks. So it's going to be relatively hard. Okay, and then the next thing that you're going to look for is are the crystals large or are the crystals microscopic? And then once you know that, then again, what are the minerals that makes up the rock? And then that narrows down what kind of a rock it is. Now at this point, I do not expect you to be, fluent at identifying rocks. So this is just our introduction to what they are. But you can try these charts out the next time that you're out in the field and to see how it goes. So in future lessons, we're going to learn all about the igneous rocks and volcanoes, and then we're going to learn about the sedimentary rocks, and then we're going to learn all about the metamorphic rocks. So that in future lessons, you're going to learn all about this stuff. So let's take a final break, and then when we come back, we'll take our lesson quiz.